There we go. Whew, boy. Okay, that was quite the adventure. Quite the adventure there. When I say quite the adventure, I mean I had to click like 3 things to get that working right. Wait, hold on. I can get... I think I got it all set up that we can just go ahead and... Okay, there we go. So here I am. Why, There we go. Okay, we got it open. Cool. All right. Well, there we go. It took a little bit of remembering how to set everything up, but I got it. I got it. Isn't that the most important thing? We eventually figured it all out. But yeah, hi there. I'm gonna try to not over talk and over explain what my plan is for today because I have to keep today's stream short. It's only going to be about an hour. I have a hard and fast end time of a little before 1 o'clock or 1300 hours, however you use your clock. But I have a hard and fast end time that I need to set for then because I have a meeting for my other job that is scheduled at that time. So I got to make sure I'm off and logged on for that. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble. So yeah, I'm not going to over-explain things too much. What I want to do is I finished up my oh wow, already a follow. Thank you, I appreciate that. Didn't even realize anyone was watching already. Hoping it's not a bot because my viewer count says 0 still with only 2 minutes into it, so we'll see. At any rate, yeah, I finished my world map, or at least to my present liking and my present standards. So I want to get into doing a detailed map of the region that I've been building in so far. Is kind of what I'm hoping to achieve here. So what I'm gonna do is, and this is something that won't show up on the stream, but what I've done is I've zoomed in to the region that I'm working on in just in the photo app and all that to kind of see. Alright, I guess it's as zoomed in as it's going to let me be. So we can just zoom into that specific area, and I can just bounce in between the two and try and line up. Let me see here. Did I set this up right so I can, like... Yeah, okay, so what we're going to do here, we need to do some land painting. Let's do land. So we're going to just do some painting of the land. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. Okay, so we're just gonna erase all of that. It's gonna be faster to do it this way. Yeah, so basically what today's stream is gonna be is the process of me working on recreating our specific region and trying to figure out. It's basically there's gonna be a lot of me trying to figure out exactly what a good process will be for achieving exactly that. Just hold up. So it kind of goes down there. All I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of alt-tabbing between the two parts of, or the image of the image of what's already been finished. Sorry, man, this is working my brain a lot more than I was prepared for it to work my brain. Trying to focus on getting this looking at least reasonably accurate. It doesn't need to be exact. But let's see, actually that's going to come down more right there. and then we loop up. Yeah, and then we kind of come down there. Go a little bit further down. Yeah, it doesn't need to be exact, but I want to try and keep it as close as possible, so that way we can have it at least kind of look like I know what I'm doing. I mean, you know, it's a real question mark whether or not I actually do. Dang it, I keep pressing tab before holding down alt. Okay, so now it comes across there, and we have ourselves like a little dip up there. Comes down more like over there. Comes down there. Go over here. Bumps down and goes out there. We have a little recessed area there. Comes back up for a little mound. And then kind of goes down and out. So that's where that region goes, and then this area up here kind of, yep, goes up that way. Okay, so this is our basic coastline. And so now I'm just going to go into land, just like our big painting device, and paint this area. Just kind of fill it in here. Boop. Boop. Try and do it without out messing up my coastline, but also with being lazy. Hey, how's it going? Nice Vera. Thank you for the follow earlier. I appreciate that. It came so fast, I was worried that I was getting bot rated or something. But I appreciate it. Alrighty, so we're gonna bring that up there. And now we're just painting this whole area in, because this is all land over here. Okay. So we've got the land going on that area. Oh, is your internet slow? You know what, man? I know that pain. I live in a place that's got good internet these days, but I have lived in my fair share of mediocre internet locations, and it is and it's a frustration, to say the least. I feel you completely. All right, so again, I'm just sort of alt tabbing my way through this, because I've got my world map already I've got my world map already pulled up in a different tab here. Nicaea. Okay, Nicaea. Gotcha. Apologize for the mispronunciation earlier, but I appreciate you clarifying. Alright, so go there. And there. Yeah, so we're going to come up there. It goes over there. Boy, this is a tedious process, and I'm glad I'm only doing one. It's like 1/300th of my map. What we're working on right now, because my whole world map is. It's quite sizable, but I wanted to break it down in chunks like this. Okay, so there we go. So that's the coastline that we're working on right here, and all of that is ocean, so we can leave it like that. Oh yeah. I'm a DM, and I am. Before actually even, prior to getting involved in DMing, I've always, not always, but I have been for quite some time. I've been an avid world builder as a hobby, and so basically being a DM for me is just the natural progression of being obsessed with world building. So what we're working on right now really is I'm just building my world, because I've had this sort of fictional world for quite some time, but I just recently upgraded my PC so that it can handle some newer tools that I've learned about that really make it a lot easier to do exactly this. Do this world building. And so basically what I'm finally doing for like, and it's as something that I have fantasized about for ages, um, is I'm actually sort of bringing my theoretical or my imaginary world into a more realistic appearance. Um, and so that's basically what I'm doing here. Is I'm just making I'm bringing to visual life what I've sort of imaginary created and worked on for a very long time. And so this is actually a very fun and exciting project for me here. And I love how much detail I can add to this. Because as a world builder and as a DM, I love being able to add like detail to the point that the world feels like completely real, feels like not imaginary at all. Is is sort of my thing. I like it to feel like this could be a real place. I mean, minus dragons and magic and all that kind of crap, but like a real place that you go to in the sense of, my players can, I can describe a city and my players can say, I want to go and see what's going on in that building or that shop, and there's something there. Like there's something that I've created, is sort of like my ideal fantasy. What era does this? So this world is a very it's largely based off of sort of D&D type of lore. Originally, when I first started just the hobby of world building, I had not worried too much about using any sort of existing lore, but because this world has really taken on a life as a place for me to provide some D&D gaming for my friends and everything. It is very heavily influenced by D&D, but I play very fast and loose. As far as lore goes, I play very fast and loose with the lore as written in the D&D world. So I change things as it suits my world, and then I'll keep some things based on how well they fit, which would naturally produce a few issues. Like from a publishing standpoint, if I ever wanted to do that, I'd have to navigate a few things. But when it comes to just like, having fun and creating inventing an imaginary world for myself and my players, it works great. So as far as like an era goes, yes, it is definitely medieval fantasy. Yes, sorry for a more simple, straightforward answer. Yes, it's medieval fantasy. This particular world, I actually do have a also, like, sort of in the same vein as the world building, I have a sci-fi galaxy that I also like to write. But that one I spend less time on, just because this one I'm constantly creating stuff, not only for my own enjoyment, but also for other people. And the sci-fi one at this point in time is entirely my own enjoyment. But yes, it's medieval fantasy. The era within this world, the timeline of this world is there was roughly a give or 1,000 or so years ago, a century or two, not too long ago. There that's not a century, that's like a millennia or something like that. I don't know. I always get those mixed up because they don't actually really follow the same conventions as distance or anything. But at any rate, a long time ago, there was an event called the Unhinging. It was like a sort of a calamity type of event, where all of the magical ethereal realms, as well as the material realm, kind of just got mixed and matched. Is an easy, like, the way I always describe it is, imagine you have a jar of like various sands and rocks and waters and oils, right? And if you just leave it on a table, everything will like sediment out into layers. That's what all of the different realms, the ethereal realms and stuff, the material plane, that's what all of those are, essentially. I guess I don't actually like those there. And basically what happened in the Unhinging is, it's like someone took that jar and just shook it up, so that everything got all mixed and topsy-turvy. And so as a result, there was just a whole lot of monstrosities and horrible things that sort of were birthed from that process. Um, and it is very problematic for the world. And so the result is that essentially there are, it's 1,000 years afterwards. The world's recovering. Things are starting to the layers are starting to separate out again. But there's been a lot of residual damage and stuff left. And so, but during that process, when it first happened, essentially all enlightened races. I say enlightened because you can't really say human because there's a lot of non-humans, but like basically all the intelligent humanoid races in the lore that I use, I call it enlightened just because I needed like one term for everything for the sake of writing. But all of the enlightened races, basically they all convened into like 12 or 13. I don't remember how many I landed on, which is weird for my own world, I know, but it's 13 cities. So there are basically 13 walled cities, and everything pretty much happens there, and the rest of the world is just called the Wilds. And so that's kind of what the environment of this whole world is. And it makes for some really fun and creative D&D stuff, because when you have an entire world that's just the wilds, but it's like basically abandoned places that were once populated, you end up with a lot of really, really convenient, from the D&D writing perspective, a lot of very conveniently filled and abandoned dungeons for the sake of dungeoneering. So that kind of is a very quick, rough and dirty snapshot of what the environment of this world is. And I'm gonna just throw down. We're gonna throw down just another fairly sizable island here, just because. Right? It's like, why not? There we go. That looks a little. That looks like a little too penile for me. Let's make that a little less suggestive in shape. That looks almost like a whale. There we go. We'll leave it just like that. We'll call it Whale Island. I don't know. Fuck. Whatever. Alright, so that, let me just make sure I'm not forgetting any details. I think that looks pretty good right there. I like the way that looks right there. So basically, the reason I'm doing this segment right here is I DM for 2 groups right now. And the one of them that's actually I'm playing this weekend, so I have everything that I need, but it's all in like my older formats that are just not as fun, not as pretty, not as exciting as what these new ones are. So I'm trying to see if I can't like quickly prep some new fun maps to print off and have for my friends. But they're all playing within this region. And in this particular region specifically, there's a city up here. The city's going to be up here. There's one of the large cities up here, and they're going to be making their way over onto this island. Is where they're trying to go, and they're just departing. So we're going to have some like sea adventures. This group has self-professed when they said they wanted to play D&D, they explicitly said they wanted to be pirates. So I have set them up to be pirates. That's why we chose this city as the starting point. It's a very good pirate city, and there's an island with some interesting things going on over here. And so that's why I'm choosing this area of the map, because I want to try and get everything that they are going to have going on there, as well as start populating some of the other things that are going to go beyond when they take care of what they're trying to take care of on this island, is what the goal is here. So now, let me see here. So for now, I want to just establish the things that I know I'm going to need here. So let's go with some symbols. First off, I want to put our city here. The city and the tokens that I like to use in this tool. And by the way, I should say it, on the stream, so anyone watching, whether they're watching live or watching the VOD, knows I'm using. You can actually kind of. I don't know if you can see it. Actually, it cuts off the window. I'm using Wonderdraft. Is the name of this program. It's a fantastic program that I'm very much in love with. and it makes mapping very, very very, very easy. It's very intuitive the way it works, and it's much better than any system I've used thus far. So I highly recommend it, even though they aren't paying me jack squat to say that. So yeah, you pretty much got it. You pretty much got it, Nicaea. The idea is that it's very I came up with the idea separate of the series, but it's very reminiscent of, if you're familiar with the anime Attack on Titan. I haven't caught up. I've only watched the first season of it, but it's like very reminiscent of that kind of society where it's like there's the walled city, the protected walled city, and then outside of that is like all kinds of insanity. Is sort of the atmosphere I'm going for. And like I say, it's just to me the world building too. Yeah, exactly. Like I say, I thought of the idea years ago before I was aware of the anime or the manga or anything like that. But it's a cool idea, and so it doesn't surprise me that there would be some sort of converging ideas on that. Hold on, I gotta double check something on the thing here. So the scale of this is gonna be, trying to make sure I get the scale of the what I want to be. Yeah, that's probably a good scale. Yeah. So we can put our city down right here. But yeah, so that's kind of the idea, and I think it's a convenient one, especially from a world building perspective, because it just opens itself up to a whole lot of opportunities, and it really means you can kind of do whatever you want when it comes from a writing standpoint. You know, it's like anything that I think of, it can be the weirdest, most out there thing thematically for the world, and you can just attribute it to like long lost society. No one remembers it, right? It's super convenient. So I'm willing to confess that when I originally came up with the idea, it was really just to have a convenient way to to do whatever the hell I wanted. Oh, okay. So nice. Okay, so you're really into like the socioeconomic type stuff. That's awesome. That stuff is always a struggle for me to think of, because I'm too idealistic with all that kind of stuff, and I just always think to myself like, oh, but I want all of the things to be super friendly and amicable and nice and everything. So I end up with all of these. So it ends up being a challenge for me. Oh no, you deleted it. Oh, that sucks. That sucks, man. I feel that pain. That sucks. That really sucks, man. My heart aches for you. Like, I don't, and I mean that genuinely. That sucks to lose that much work and effort. It's really disheartening. It's really disheartening when you like poured so much effort into something and it just is gone. Yeah, I can imagine. Well, that's like, the stuff that I work on, I have gone through great pains to sort of, I've gone through great pains to find various ways to back up and save a lot of my work and have it like be automated when I do that, because I have years of effort into this idea. I'm working fresh with like fresh new maps and everything because of the new software, but in terms of stuff that I've written, and like within my OneNote notebooks and stuff like that, and then old Word documents that go way, way back, I have years of stuff saved up, and if I lost all of it, I would probably continue world building because I love it, but I would also I'd be a sad boy, that's for sure. Oh, nice. Okay, so you really like to base yours off of a lot of like reality and realism and stuff like that. That's awesome. I'm definitely I definitely lean more towards making everything sort of magical and fantastical, just because I get tired and depressed in the real world. So I like to have imaginary worlds. I like to have a complete fantasy world to escape into. Is really what it is. Really, what it is I'm foregoing proper coping mechanisms with like the challenges of this world, and instead just making up a fantasy world and letting myself live in that. Boy. That's a little harsh on myself, but so okay. So we plop that down right there. So on this island, some of the important aspects of this island are there's a big mansion here, and that's what this sort of building is meant to represent. It doesn't really have a whole lot of like mansion type of tokens. I need to. This program has a lot of like you can buy different asset packs and everything. and I need to get myself a handful of those. But for now, let's see. So I'm gonna put that right there. For now, I'm just making do with what came with it, because I'm still like I've only had this program for like 2 weeks, so I'm still very much learning how to use it, and I feel like it's easier to learn how to use something if you don't overwhelm yourself with it, and so that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Just not overwhelm myself. So we've got on this island. So basically, this island here, the history of it is when the unhinging first happened, we had a whole lot of chaos and stuff, and everyone, like I said, everyone is fleeing to different places. And one of the things that happened is there's this mansion here where it's basically just some rich aristocrat owned this whole island, and he would use it as a vacation home essentially. And so what he did is, when everything was happening, he gathered up a bunch of his servants, said, "Get on a boat, we're going to an island, and we're just going to ride this whole thing out. Just go to the Winchester, have a pint, and wait for all this to blow over," is basically what he wanted to do. And so he went there, but the problem is, so one of the things that happened during the unhinging is there were rifts, that like tears in the material plane that opened up between all the other planes, and those rifts basically radiated magic that are the source of a lot of the weird monstrosities and the bizarro things that exist in the wilds. And one of those rifts opened up somewhere around over here, and so you get like somewhere in this area, so you get a whole bunch of magical radiation that, the radius kind of goes around and catches some of the land here, but also catches this island. And so as a result, he sort of became slowly corrupted, and he turned into this weird, psychotic, murderous Cyclops that basically his first thing that he did was he dabbled in different magics and learned how to cast a lot of dark magics to make himself and his servants immortal. And then he took to just sort of, the most dangerous game, hunting his servants just for fun. It's a very dark island, and kind of concerned that I came up with it. But that's essentially what happened. So on this island, there's like this small colony of terrified servants being constantly chased, harassed, and sometimes tortured by an evil Cyclops. It's essentially what we're doing. Oh shit, I'm getting raided. Oh damn, Sensei Suplex. Jesus, that's that's terrifying. I appreciate the raid. Welcome everyone. I'm doing some writing here. We're doing some world building. I was kind of giving a crash course on some of the history of my world while we're working on remapping some areas that have already been created, but I'm recreating because I have a new computer, which means I have new software, which means I'm basically just playing around. But thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Welcome everyone. We're having some fun creating stuff, and I was just kind of going over the lore of this area. Super quick crash course. Calamity event happened. Bunch of tears in the material plane opened up, allowing magic, sort of like a radiation type of happening in the world happened, but with magic, and so now everything's like fucked up. And we have on this island here a magically yeah, exactly. People are now monstrosities and stuff like that. But we basically have a crazy psychotic Cyclops that lives on this island that is hunting down a whole bunch of people who are trapped on this island as well. And so we're just mapping out a bunch of the places that I've already sort of created. We're just creating a whole bunch of stuff or rather remapping out stuff that I've already created, and I'm having fun. Like I said, I keep saying it, having fun with new tools. So we have on here, right here is the mansion, and then right over here we have. So what's over here is like this island. Also, at one point in time, was sort of like a mining location. And thank you also for the follows. I suppose I'm supposed to be shouting the follows out too. So Sensei Suplex, thank you for the follow on the raid. Chaotician, right? Oh, okay. So okay, Chaotician Writer. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And then Navy PT Provost. Chaotic Gan. Okay, Chaotic Gan. Gotcha. Gotcha. Thank you for the follows, everybody. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. That's fun. Um, but yeah, fuck, man, this is so exciting. I lost my train of thought. Uh, Crazy Cyclops, tortured, hunted people, and the reason it's fun to create this is so we have zooming out. This is just one small part of my world, a very small part, 1/300th of my world, essentially, is what we're looking at right here. We have a big city up here. We have the island down here, and I have players in one of my groups leaving this city, heading for this island, with absolutely no idea what is waiting for them on this island. So I have a whole bunch of weird, messed up stuff that they're just going to get dropped in the middle of. And it's going to be an interesting thing for the players because they are a bunch of self-professed pirates who really only care about treasure, and then suddenly they're going to be thrown into this area that they're probably going to have to make some moral decisions about, like, do they intervene with what's going on here? Do they pull, a Star Trek pacifist approach to it? Like, what are they going to do about this? So I'm forcing their hand on some moral choices because thus far they have willfully been pretty murder hobo-y about it all. So that's what I'm working on here. So we have our mansion here, our manor, which is where the Cyclops himself lives. That's where he takes up his abode over here. We have on here an old mine that I've already kind of mapped out from a dungeon standpoint, but I'll probably recreate that too because I have a new dungeon making thing. But that's a different project for a different day. But we have an old mine here. Over here we have like a cave network. So I'm thinking, I'm trying to find a good symbol for a cave. I suppose we can just use this one. That's kind of different. And I'm pretty sure if I alt it, oops, no. Where are my hotkeys? I'm still learning this. So if we alt this one and set it up over here, we have kind of like a cave system entrance that's over here that kind of goes in from. Yeah, it's definitely on the tropical end of the spectrum. To give an idea of the biome of this whole region, up here, a bit further north of here, this is kind of like a southern hemisphere type of region. I suppose I could. Well, yeah. Yeah. You know what? Let's go ahead. We got a bunch of new people here. Let's take a field trip. Let me save this. We're gonna call this. I don't remember. Like, I'm just gonna call it new region for now because I forget exactly which hex this lines up with. But we're just gonna quickly save this, and we're gonna open up my world map. We're gonna take a field trip, so I can show off my new world because I love my world and I love showing it off to people. Alright, so open it up. So this is my world, Eoria, as I call it. And so this is the entire place. On this map we have, as you can see, lots of mountains and forests and everything. We have some large rivers. I've only bothered on this scale map to do like the largest of everything, but we have a lot of really cool stuff. The area that we are working on right now is this specific hex. So like I say, we're working on like 1/300th. So this is the specific hex. So if we zoom back out, you can kind of see it's right equidistant with the largest desert in this world, the Corsoin Desert. So we're working on that area. So it's definitely going to be like tropical over here because it's still like all warm and hot and all that stuff. But like, with water, so it doesn't turn into a desert. I don't know. So this is the area that we got. But yeah, this is my world. This is my baby. This is the world I've been working on. I've been playing in and writing and world building this entire world for years. And I just recently recreated it in this program, WonderDraft, because like I say, I finally upgraded my computer after 6-7 years. I got a new computer finally, so I can finally use like new software. And so I've just been having all kinds of fun, and it's like really exciting because previously I was just basically using Photoshop for everything, which is functional but clunky when you're trying to use Photoshop for creating a map. Incarnate is cool. I never adopted Incarnate. I don't really even know why. I just never did. And I think it was because for a long time, like I say, I was just so invested in the Photoshop version that I was kind of like, I don't really want to. And then I got a new computer, and I know it's kind of funny to say that like the old computer I was using Photoshop, and now on this one I'm using something that's arguably less beastly than Photoshop. But essentially, Photoshop I knew worked. It was clunky and it was slow, but it worked. Yeah, I agree with that with Incarnate. It's definitely better for regional. For doing an entire world like this, Wonder Draft has just been amazing, and it's been so easy to adopt. And doing all of these, like creating this whole thing, like this whole thing took me like, I don't know, a combined total of like 4 hours to make or something like that. Really not that much time. So it's been wonderful, and it's just so exciting to me because it's so smooth, and it's so much easier to edit a map. You know, with Photoshop, once I got my baseline map, like I had that and I would make edits, but it was so clunky and so slow to try and make those edits that I would like resist making changes. But with this, I'm like excited to go in here and change things because you can just do it so easily. But yeah, so this is my world. This is, like I say, this is Zeoria. And I got players over here, and my other group, I've got some players down in this region over here. So all of my games, I keep them in this world, and they're like actively happening in the same place, like in the same timeline and everything. I don't keep my games separate. It's just that based on where they wanted to start and what they wanted to do, I had them in different starting places. But yeah, so this is it. And we are, like I say, we're working on this area over here. That my players did kind of delve over into this for a little while, into this region over here, but we've kind of departed that area and come back over here. And like I say, they're pirates, wanted to head down here, and they have no idea what's over here. So at any rate, let's go ahead and reopen. Boom! God, that's so fast. Like I say, I'm used to using Photoshop on an old PC, so it would be like we'd still be sitting here waiting for it to think about and load new things. But here we are now. This is just, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love this. I love this. I also love that this program has an autosave feature. So that way if something ever gets mucked up, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. Okay, so one other thing, and I am very doubtful that they have an existing icon that'll be exactly what I'm looking for here. But the other thing is, because of this unhinging and because of all of the weird ass magical shit that's going on in this world, all of the ocean currents going through here are all kinds of bizarro Crazy Town banana pants. And the result was when it was all first happening and people were basically, there was a very large group of people that basically escaped to boats, and if they could find an island, great. If not, they would just try to become a society at sea, is essentially what they would try to do to stay off the land. Except that the currents were all kinds of crazy and messed up, and it resulted in all of the currents kind of pulling a whole lot of ships, like ships that didn't have an expert navigator, got pulled into this area here where the bridge is floating. Hold on. There we go. Into this area over here. And essentially there's just a big giant ship graveyard over here. I call it Shipwreck Beach. But there's just a big giant graveyard. So I'm going to try and see. They had some colored in boats there, but I don't like the colored in versions. I like just the line art versions because that feels more, I don't know, it just feels more like handwritten and feels almost more authentic in a way to me. I don't know. That's just my aesthetic preference. So if I can find that, and I know there will be asset packs that will have that stuff for me, but I have yet to take the time to explore asset packs. I'm trying to just learn. I was saying earlier, I'm trying to just learn the program without overdoing it on the assets. You know, learn the program as is. I guess we could use that and shrink it way down. That's not the worst option. Hold on, let's zoom in here. But I'm trying to learn it as is, so that way I can have a sense of how the program works, and be able to, you know, be confident in my use of it before I go overboard with things. What kind of things can be found at the Shipwreck Beach? Well, when they arrive, essentially what's here, so because of that magical radiation, like I was saying, and because of, so the guy, the crazy Cyclops, was delving in some dark magic for a while there. What's that? Ooh, a monster. I had an idea for this as well. I think, hold on, I know there's a way to rotate this. I'm just going to rotate it so the ship's sideways. But basically, because of all of that weird dark magic that the Cyclops was going after, as well as just the magical radiation, basically what exists here is a bunch of swamp zombies. Like these like half decayed, messed up swamp zombies from all of the dead people, essentially is what it is. In the Shipwreck Beach, and they all are just in various. They're all various levels of destroyed and messed up, and yeah, I mean that's essentially it. There's that, and there's a few just sort of like water monsters and stuff that exist there as well. I know there's a way to rotate it. Because I did it on accident at one point, but that's just it. I did it on accident. Symbol rotation. There we go. Hold up. I found it. And all it took was me actually looking at the options available to me. 90 degrees. Boom. Shipwreck. God, it's so stupid, but I don't care. I want to make it just a little bit smaller, though. Hold on. Nope. Let's grab it. Are those only 2 options for size? All right. Well, I guess we'll leave it that size. As that doesn't look too big when we put it right there. It's an entire beach full of shipwrecks. It's a reasonably large area. But that's essentially it. One of the things that I have decided to do that is going to change about a lot of the stuff that I've written, just in terms of a mechanics standpoint, though, is I've already written this area from a mechanics standpoint. Basically, what I do is I world build, and then I just like slap some D&D mechanics onto it, and that's what my process is. You know, I just slap some random tables and stuff on there. And in my previous map, I had the world chunked much smaller, and I had things much more subdivided based on intended player level. But what I've kind of decided to do, because of how much more detailed and how much easier it is to make a detailed map and make a detailed world here, I've kind of decided to expand the hexes and make each one of those hex roughly a 10 level campaign of sorts, which means that I need to adjust a lot of my encounter tables so that they can encompass reasonably a much wider range of player levels. And so basically what I do is I chunk everything based on like a region of player levels, right? So it's like levels 1. Previously what I was doing is like, this hex is really intended for players level 1 through 4, and so everything is like basically revolves around making it'd be really easy for a level 4, it'd be difficult for level 1. If you're 2 or 3, it'd be pretty average difficulty. And so basically what I want to do is I want to offer up those same levels, but all within the same region, so that way they can still travel to the same region but have a reasonable amount of challenge. The hard part about that, though, is I also like creating my world as sort of a living, breathing thing. So I want to do that for the traveling, but for actual areas, I don't want to do that. I want the areas to be a specific, and when I say areas, I mean like map icons, map locations, where there's like an actual thing for people to interact with. I want those to be specific level so that it's entirely possible for players to accidentally get in over their head and have to think about like, oh shit, we should probably run away, and then make note of this and come back later once we've learned this, that, or the other abilities that we're after. Is kind of what I want to achieve with this. And so that's one thing that's been a challenge for me, is trying to figure out like, okay, how do I balance all of that? What's my intent for this? How am I going to go about finding a way to balance that feels realistic without also getting my players killed? As well as expanding my ideas for like campaigns and stuff to be more long-term things, because I've historically kind of chunked things into smaller like mini side quests really, and just let player motivation be the campaign. But I kind of, now that I have a lot more tools for making some like essentially streamlining a lot of the writing process, the map making progress specifically, I kind of want to expand my efforts a little bit and try writing something a bit more complex, a bit more long term, a bit more involved, mostly as a way to challenge myself. So I've been trying to brainstorm how I'm going to do that. Luckily, I don't need to have that prepared for this weekend. I just need to basically have the journey here and maybe Shipwreck Beach 100% ready to go, which they largely are. So I at least have that going for me. Um, but that's kind of so basically having the city here, having this island, and then that was the other thing I was gonna do. Um, I wanted to see what kinds of ocean map icons they have. I kind of want to just like throw one of these bad boys in here. I mean, write it, but like there's a large like I say, there's a rift in reality, a tear in reality, and I want to just like put something in there to exemplify that. But I'm almost hesitant because I also don't want to give away exactly what it is there. But at the same time, like as much as I like trying to make things have sort of like a realistic feel in terms of like the world is a living, breathing thing that you can accidentally get in over your head with and all that stuff, I also recognize that this is a game, and so it's totally acceptable to have things be sort of game mechanic-esque. Um, so I think we're just gonna go ahead and boom, have like the whirlpool of death be over there. And if players are like, "What's that over there?" I'll be like, "Well, why don't you navigate over there and figure it out, right?" So we can put something there. And so one of the processes, and so where I'm at like exactly at this moment now, I've now plotted out all 5 things that I've sort of already written for this area. For this specific reason, that's kind of what I've got prepared to handle for the players. You know, that gives me quite a few, like that's months worth of sessions sort of pre-planned out, with stuff that cohesively goes into each other. And so I've got that worked out. And so now is where the real fun part begins, where I can just start thinking like, yes, absolutely. If a player is a sailor, a bonus to figure it out. That's 100% an aspect of it. So this is the amount of detail I like to get into when I'm writing stuff. Like I say, I like to have detailed stuff. I love world building, and I love being a prepared DM. So I love like whenever a player says something, not just like pretending that I have something. I love actually having something. And so I have random encounter tables that the frequency of different events changes based on if there are people with sailing experience on the ship. And so that's absolutely a factor of it. And so like finding this thing, and that's kind of why I'm hemming and hawing over whether to actually put an icon on there, because my intent is to try and create a player-friendly map here. Right, I want to create a player-friendly map that has a lot of icons for them to sort of like, from a game mechanic, visually say like, oh, that's where this thing is and that's where that thing is. Kind of like in a Skyrim approach where it's like, you can see the icons there, but it doesn't give you details about it until you get there. It's kind of what I want to do for it. These zoomed-in ones are less about a realistic set piece and more about a functional tool for players. So that's, but like I say, I don't want to give away too much by giving them the map that has too much stuff. But I also don't want to have to reprint a new map every time they go somewhere. So it's like trying to figure that balance out. Let's see here, development challenge. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That is 100% the difficulty. Trying to figure out how to make like an adventure without making it feel too gamey, but then also not making it feel too much of a slog and too much of just like, Dark Souls but slower because it's a tabletop. It's really difficult to handle all of that. And that's where, for me, the important part then becomes just always communicating with your players and trying to be a better DM, honestly. Like, that's just kind of what it comes down to for me after a certain point, is trying to think about, like, okay, I want to be a better DM, so I'll ask my players, like, did you like this? What would make this better or make that worse? Like, what, just asking the questions, essentially. And so, but yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge for me. In terms of creating interesting things, that's fun, that's easy. I just imagine where it would be fun for me to go through and explore, and, like, what would be fun for me to find. But yeah, like finding the balance of how to actually run a game mechanic can be a challenge for sure. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Communication's where it's at. And so like I'll have players. A lot of times my players will roll their eyes because after every single session I was like, "Did you like the session? What could I do better? What are some things you want me to not do or do differently next time?" All that kind of stuff. And a lot of them will like roll their eyes and be like, "You're a good DM. Stop asking us these questions. Like we like what you're doing." And I'm like, "No, I don't accept that. You need to tell me what you like and don't like." Because I want to get better and I want to make sure it's a game. Like it's the way I always say it too for my players. It's our game. It's not my game. It's our game. We all need to be enjoying it. So, okay. So what I think I want to do is I want to just add some general landmark set pieces here. Because right now I'm looking at this, and while there's all these icons here that are cool, the world looks boring. This map, this region looks boring. It looks empty and lame, and like there isn't much to do. So I'm going to start adding some landmarks here. And so one of the first things, actually, you know, one of the first things that I need to do is I need to add the pathway here. So let me see here. So the pathway, I'm going to draw our pathway, and we want to make sure I need to make sure I'm using the same one here because I want it to be cohesive. And so between all these cities, so there's like 13 established cities that are like safe zones in this unhinged post-calamity world. And there's basically one set of highways that are sort of like patrolled, not really patrolled per se, but more so like these are established like as long as you travel on these roads with an appropriate guard detail for your for your trade convoy or whatever you got going on, it's reasonably safe to travel along these roads. And they're like, people don't deviate from those unless you're asking for trouble. Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. That's a really good point. Questions to ask them, you know, what do you want to achieve in the future? What's your goal? And that's something that I take very seriously. And that's why I say, like, for a long-term campaign, I've historically just sort of, I've sort of allowed players to drive that. Like, basically what I'll do is I'll ask players, like, give me just some general seeds about your character's backstory and what your character's motivations are. And I basically try to, as we're going, modify and write and keep notes on what would be some potentially intriguing story beats for this player or that player. And I'll bounce between players too. I'll be like, you know what, it's been a couple sessions, we haven't focused on this character. So let's go ahead and focus on this guy's character and throw something there. And the campaign kind of builds itself. And that's worked for me. But sometimes I worry about... sometimes, yeah, active world building for sure. Yeah, you can't just assume everything is going to be good to go as it is. That said, I want there to be. I feel like the world, when I do that too much, feels too heavily tailored towards the players, and it feels almost like too convenient. You know, I like there to be stuff going on outside of the players' motivations. Which is why I'm thinking about, you know, like expanding my writing process a little bit. And that's actually what these points that I've already put down with this whole thing going on with the Cyclops and stuff like that, that's something that exists outside of what the players are doing. The players, the reason they're going there is because one of the players is a pirate who was shanghaied by a crew member and he wants revenge, and he caught wind that guy that committed a mutiny on their ship and left him, you know, essentially left him to drown. He managed to survive, but essentially left him to drown. He got wind that he was hiding out on this island. So basically the group is going after there to try and just, you know, cut the balls off of one guy that they're really not happy with. And they're going to find themselves in this sort of existing confrontation. Is sort of the idea that we're working with there. So it's, you know, like I say, this group has very willfully been very murder hobo-y so far. And gonna be honest, I don't have a problem with that. Let's just make sure that goes down, and then just because it does, just for completeness, you can see a little bit of the pathway going up because the pathway does go north. Yeah, they've been very murder hobo-y. And the thing is too is, I don't say murder hobo explicitly as an insult. There's nothing wrong with a game like that. I mean, that's essentially what you are in every open world video game, right? Like, play Fallout, play Skyrim. You're a murder hobo. You just travel around. Yeah, that's my reminder. I got to make sure I'm logging off in about 10 minutes. I've got a meeting for my boring real person job. But yeah, they've been doing that, and it's like, I don't have a problem with that, honestly. If you guys just want dungeon crawls, like, fuck, man. Planning out dungeons and just planting treasures and traps and stuff, I love doing that. That's super fun. Because for my own satisfaction, I'll also have some of the rewards just be like bits of lore about the place. So it's like, even if they don't give a shit, it's like, I know what happened in this place. I know the rich history of this place, right? For sure, yeah, no, like players are like, no, you're doing a great job. It's like, but how? But what is great about it? Like, I want to make sure I do that again. Because if I get too confident, if I get too big for my britches, that's when I start creating different things, and that's eventually how you end up with like, that's how bands end up with like conceptual albums that are huge flops because everyone's like, you need to dial it back a bit. So let's see. So we've got a road there. I keep getting distracted because I love just talking about world building. Um, Gosh, you guys, this is the raid was the worst thing that ever happened to me because now I've got people that I like talking to about world building and I'm way less productive. No, that's not true at all. That's why I love streaming this stuff. I was like worried when I started streaming this that people wouldn't care, and people are like actually super interested in what I have to say about world building and stuff, and I absolutely freaking love it. It's so much fun. Okay, so let's see here. So I'm going to, like I say, I want to just kind of add a bunch of natural landmarks to this area. Now, one landmark that I know exists in this world. Hold on, I gotta change the color. I am not satisfied with the color of this. Water texture. Where's the freshwater color? I'm going to. Honestly, I just like it when the water kind of matches the ocean. Like freshwater versus saltwater. Honestly, visually speaking, I don't think it really matters. I mean, it's not like my players are fish people. None of them chose to be a Triton, so none of them are fish people. So it doesn't matter to them whether it's like sea or saltwater. Sea or saltwater, it's the same thing. Fresher saltwater. Fuck. Okay. And then so we've got this little oasis here, and then actually, you know what? Let me make sure. I just gotta check really quickly. Going a little outside the bounds of this area, but you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna put it in that same area because it conceptually fits. So, that's not what I wanted. Escape. Stop it. So like there exists here. There's an oasis here, and for me, I absolutely love this area here and the lore in this area here because by this oasis is the burial ground for basically the first human that existed in Zaoria. Second human. The first human died in battle and is just like buried nowhere. But the first like beloved human was buried here, and I love this area for the lore that it adds to my world. Okay, so I want to do that. So but we've got like a river that like kind of winds. I'm gonna make it a bit more windy than that. That eventually just kind of leads to the ocean here. Whoops, I forgot I need to. There we go. So there's like there's basically an oasis where there's like water that like not like geyser-esque, but basically water funnels up from underground. Again, it's a magical world. It doesn't always have to be realistic, right? But like it's basically just an oasis that naturally forms water getting pushed upwards from in the earth, and then eventually overflows and turns into sort of this like river network here, and it's kind of like a strange form of river here, but I want to have it fork a little bit here as well. And I don't know, we'll have it end there. And I didn't the fork isn't original. Or isn't it wasn't there before, but I like the idea of that being there. You know, it just makes it interesting. I'm just trying to add some visual appeal here. But because of that, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this would be a good place for me to put. There were some symbols that were kind of ancient Egyptian in nature here, or in appearance. And that's what I want to do, because we're talking about like a desert-esque, tropical/desert-esque area. And I kind of want to really lean into that. So, oh, look at this. This is perfect. That is 100% spot on what I'm looking for right there. Boom. Because it's like a burial mausoleum that's just basically on the coast of that oasis. Because this human that's buried there, she was the first queen of this city up here, which actually I can add a label for. This is the city of Bepimat. And it's very ancient Egypt in style and appearance. And the first queen, so the first humans... Oops, wait, hold up a second. Hold up a second. I screwed up with my path. Hold on. Hold on. This just will not stand. I cannot stand for this. There we go. There, much better. Okay, so there's so the city Bepimat was sort of the first like human city that ever existed on Zaoria. And there's a whole lot of other lore for this world, but we're not going to open up that can of worms because I will be here all night if I keep following down tangents, and I can't do that. I have to log off in 5 minutes. But so the first queen, essentially, of the city, Bephomet, and she sort of, when she needed time away from being a queen, she basically would travel over to this oasis, and this was her refuge, and she would go. And so when she died, she was buried there, and yeah, that's what it is. And so there's this like mausoleum that's a really interesting one, and it's like it's guarded by an angel essentially. And my players actually interacted with that angel, and it's guarded by an angel. And the thing that's interesting about it is because of who the queen was, anyone who wants to visit her tomb and visit like her libraries, because she was buried with a library. They basically built an underground library for her. And so anyone who wants to visit the library is welcome. They're just not permitted to take anything. And so that was kind of like the test for the players, like the purity test. Like, would they be able to, as pirates especially, as self-proclaimed pirates, be able to explore and not take anything? And they succeeded, although not without some close calls and a few heated discussions between some of the characters. But they did it. And so, I don't know, I really love that area. I think it's a cool area. And for me, being someone who loves adding sort of like a rich history to my world, it's a great resource to be able to add that there. So, at any rate, let's see here. How am I doing on time? I got 3 minutes. Let's add something, right? Let's add something. Just some flavor. Let's just add a little bit of flavor. Make it pretty. Let's add just like a couple like decorative things. Oh well, thank you. I appreciate. Assuming that you're settling on that you like it a lot. Mountains. So mountains are further to the other side. Oh, thank you for the follow there, Mr. Buell. Mr. Buell? Like Bueller? Is that what it's going for? Is that what it's invoking? I hope so, because that's an awesome reference. Oh, another follow. Thank you, X Calamity. Oh, Boulay. Okay, gotcha, Mr. Boulay. Well, thank you guys for the follows. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Yeah, no, I was mountains exist further over. This area is much more like, so we've got kind of almost borderline desert here, like grassland, borderline desert here, and then as it goes down, it's kind of more like a Serengeti type of feel. So I want to put some trees there, but I want to find like it just kind of does random trees, and I want it to not look just like random trees. I want it to look like, you know, like tropical trees or something. Whoopsie. Oops. No, I didn't want that. I didn't decide on that. There we go. Fuck. I'm gonna hem and haw over it to the point that ooh, a canyon or a cliff would be cool. We could put like a canyon or something, or like we could put like we could put like a big gorge or something that kind of like goes off the coast down here or something like that. That'd be cool. That looks kind of canyony, right? Hold on, let's do something like that, and there's like a large canyon or something that kind of goes off of there. Doesn't look very canyony. There's got to be a better way to do that. There's got to be a better way to do it. Let's see. There's got to be something. There's got to be something. I mean, right? Large cliff face separating the upper side from the lower beach. Yeah. That's not a bad idea either. I like that idea. Oh, here we go. That looks pretty cliffy. We got to make it smaller, but here we go. Wait, here we go. Let's just do like cliffs go along there. We can do some cliffs there. It kind of doesn't exactly look like what I'm trying to go for. Maybe if we just like I'm just trying to figure out how I could like hotwire a little bit here. Like if we do, just make it look more like a platform, like a plateau or something. Like if we do that there, that kind of gives it a plateau. It kind of evokes a little bit of plateau essence, right? I don't know. That doesn't look too terrible. I don't mind that. I mean, it's not going to look professional. It's not like I'm sitting here hand drawing exactly what I want to look like. I have to accept a certain degree of not perfect, but okay. And I'm just going to dot a couple. I'm going to go back to the trees here. I'm gonna go back to the trees. I'm like scrambling to get as much in here as I want because I don't want to go back to work. I'm here basically on my lunch break today. Let's see here. No, god damn it, these trees are just garbage. It's just gonna bounce between those two. It's gonna bounce between those two. Like, see, if we've got the palm trees, which aren't bad, but they're colored. I want the outline, the colorless outline ones. You know, like that's what I want. Fuck, I don't know. What are these? Ooh, no, that's not quite. I'm looking for one there. I don't know. All right, you know what? I'm running out of time. I gotta give it up. I will meditate on what I want to add here. I don't know. But yeah, so okay, so that's my time. I got 4 minutes to log off of here and then log on to my work meeting that I got. But I appreciate everyone stopping by. This was really fun today, and I'm so excited that I've got even more people who can share all of this these fun ideas. I love crowdsourcing ideas for this type of creativity, and I love sharing what I'm working on. Like, that's the whole point of doing it. That's the whole point of playing D&D, right? Is to share the stuff that you create. So this was really cool. I appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who rated me and followed me. I appreciate that. That's super exciting. Tons of fun. I do try to stream every weekday, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and it's always around this time. It changes a little bit based on what my work schedule allows. My work schedule tends to be a little in flux at any given time, so I can't guarantee any specific time, but it's always this, for me locally, it's always like early mid-afternoon-ish is when I try to stream. So I do every weekday. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are when I work on this stuff, when I work on my world building and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm writing, sometimes I'm making maps, whatever it is. Basically, I just stream whatever I'm working on. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do a little bit of video game streaming. Nothing competitive. I just fuck around on whatever game I feel like. So if that's something you think you'd be interested in, feel free to check that out. Sometimes I stream on Saturdays too, but that's really dependent on what my schedule is. And I can tell you right now, I will not be streaming this Saturday because we're playing D&D, but I don't stream our D&D sessions because we play in person, and we were playing D&D before streaming, so I don't want to change the atmosphere and the feel of that game for my friends just because I like streaming. So but that's what's coming up. So yeah, stop by tomorrow if you want to watch me stream games. Stop by again on Friday if you want to see more writing. I'll probably be doing some more session prep specific stuff. Yeah, no, we can't. It took some time for us to be able to play in person. It took some time and some patience for enough of us to get vaccinated that we could feel safe doing it. But we are very fortunate that pretty much everyone, basically all but one in our group is vaccinated, and so with only the one guy but the rest of us vaccinated, we feel safe enough to do it. So it took some time, and we do cherish it, absolutely. It's a wonderful thing. But yeah, I got 2 minutes, so I got to get out of here. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. And the only other point of only other point of business is always at the end of every stream. I always just ask everyone, go out there and try and make someone else smile. Try and make someone else's day better, because the world's like fucked up right now, and everyone's sad. Like, you know, everything kind of sucks in a lot of ways. So if we all just go out there and try to be better and make the world better, like if every human tried to make another human smile, then everyone would be smiling and the world would be great. So like, let's all just go out there and try and be that change that we all want to see in the world. But with that, I gotta run. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys, and we will catch you guys in the future, hopefully. Take care.